Okay, in this lesson we are going to look at fills and strokes. And when you talk of fill simply refers to the inside color of an object. Stroke refers to the outline of an object. So you can implement fills and strokes on either shapes or text. So let's start with our shapes. So if I pick a shape like a rectangle, for example, you draw your rectangle on your artboard like that. Then we want to change the fill and the stroke colors. So there are several ways in which you can do it. Number one, using the control palette, you can use this box to change the fill. It could be a color, it could be a gradient, it could be a pattern. So we can use that to select a fill color. And then this next icon here is for the stroke. We can change the outline color. Also, you can use the fill and stroke tools to change also the fill and stroke as well. So if you want the fill, just double click on fill. Then you can pick a color of your choice, whichever color that you want. It could be in any of these categories. So you pick any color that you want, to click OK. For stroke, you just double click on the stroke. You can pick one of the colors of your choice and click OK. So other settings that you can change are the very basic, are what we call the stroke weight. So weight, it simply refers to the thickness of a stroke. So to adjust the stroke weight, one of the ways is using the control palette. You will see this stroke weight icon. By default it's 1 point. So if you click it upwards, then it is going to adjust the thickness of your line. We also have other stroke settings. We have like this uniform. If I click that, you notice that the settings change. Also, we have other settings here which you can apply and so on. So I can just retain it back to the normal thickness. Also, we have what we call opacity. Now, opacity simply refers to the ability to lighten or darken a color. Like for instance, for my case, stroke is what is active. So by default, the opacity is 100%. So it will show the original color. So if you want to lighten this stroke, since it's the one that is active, you can just come to the opacity here. You can simply select a percentage of your choice. So you can see the color of that object changes, it lightens. If I increase it back to something like 80, becomes darker. 100%, it will be taken back to its normal original appearance. So that is how you change the fills and strokes. Another way you can do it, we can use the strokes palette. So let me enlarge it just a little bit. So our strokes palette is just here. Let me just collapse that. This one with lines. So this is the strokes palette. So you can either click on this icon or you can click on this stroke link. It will take you to the stroke panel. It's the same thing. So if I click here, it will take me to my stroke panel. So you can change the weight. Also, we have the corner. It has an additional corner for corner settings. You can either use round join to generate rounded corners or beveled to generate beveled corners, and so on. So by default, that's sharp. Also, if you want the stroke to have a dashed line, just click on dashed line. By default, you're going to have the dash. Also, for lines, you can use the arrowhead setting if you are dealing with lines. So you can see you can change various stroke settings. If I pick my line, for example, and then I draw my line, you you can see that it's dashed. So if I uncheck the dashed line, you will see that it will generate a straight line. So this line, you can convert this line into an arrow. So to do that, there is this setting called arrowheads. Arrowheads, we have one. So I can pick like this arrow 3 as one of my headers. And then the other one, I can choose now the other part. Maybe you can pick something like this. And that's it. That's how you convert a line into an arrow. You can also set the profile. Okay, you can set the profile depending on what you want. You can just leave it as default uniform for now. So you want it to have a dashed line, so we can tick the dashed line option. So basically that is how you work with fills and strokes in Illustrator. Otherwise, thank you very much and see you in our next lesson.